All right, welcome everyone to another week of This Week in Showdown. We are joining you on Mother's Day today. So, as we have snuck away to our basements after everyone has gone to sleep, I hope, right? You have.
My wife is on asleep on the couch right now. I think she fell asleep watching TV. So yeah,
Well, if I can't imagine that if she hears us, if she wakes up, it'll put her right back to bed.
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
she doesn't understand
All
this,
right.
but that's okay.
Yes, my wife just like say random numbers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But they have a meaning. Uh, all right, the big scuttlebutt in the in baseball, as far as like on the field, the Framber Valdez, the moral implications of hitting a guy after two of his teammates home run. What say you? Deal or no deal?
It's Valdez seems to get himself into these situations where he's kind of self-policing. I don't know. I don't think we're at the point in baseball anymore where that kind of self-policing is necessary or anything anymore. I mean, I think back in the day you had a lot of league loyalty, team loyalty. People were around a lot more, and there's so much intermixing now that like the guy that you're hitting is going to be your teammate next year, and it's just a lot of nothing for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe they weren't gonna. I guess they weren't gonna play the Tigers again. Like he wasn't gonna face any of the Red Sox, so he'd have to wait. But that used to be it, right? Guys would hit people like 3 years later because they like looked at a home run too long.
Yeah, I guess that depends on how much old school you are. Like guys like Nolan Ryan, that would have no problem doing that. I'm not when it comes to baseball like stuff. I'm tend to not be that old school. Like, I enjoy the home run celebrations. Give me the biggest bat flip you can. Let me see the guys have fun. We don't need to be out there hurting people. Injuries are bad enough as it is. Somebody takes a fastball off the elbow, and who knows what happens next.
Yeah, I think that was. If I had any complaint, it's like it's a little high for me,
Hmm.
right? If you get the backside, I'm probably complete nothing, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah,
mostly nothing out of 10 for me.
yeah. So many of these guys are just not pitchers anymore. They're throwers, and they don't know where they're throwing the ball. So when you're throwing at somebody, they're just throwing at that blob. They're they're just seeing where it goes. So yeah.
Yeah, just throwing it slightly more to the right. So
Yep.
all right. Set on much sadder news, especially in the Braves for the Braves organization. This has got to be the two biggest names to pass in an organization in such a short time, in Ted Turner and Bobby Cox.
Yeah, within a week of each other, it was those are two staples from at least I know probably both of our childhoods. With the Braves' dominance in the '90s and this two of the biggest guys behind it.
Yeah, so talk about your experience with the Braves. Coming up, like and these people. What were your thoughts of them? What was your
Yeah,
experience?
well, I grew up outside of Baltimore in Maryland. Orioles, all over the place up there. But you had TBS, and that was the biggest thing. With no matter what, you could watch baseball if you had cable, and you could watch the Braves if nothing else. And so I remember being little and just wanting to watch baseball, and a Braves game would be on, and kind of understanding that. I didn't understand who Ted Turner was until much later, much later in life. But like he was the impetus behind all of that. But Bobby Cox, as far as a manager goes, he was always lauded as he's most famous for his tantrums and his getting thrown out all the time. But what was that 14 straight division titles and 5 World Series and one title is that's it takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot of skill.
Yeah, they have the when you go to the stadium, it's just like this ribbon of pennants all the way down. So I mean, it's obviously they've moved away from Turner Field, right? I live in the greater Atlanta area, so there have been people who are here when people credit Ted Turner for bringing the '96 games to Atlanta. If you go back and watch that opening ceremony, it's funny that if you're looking for it, the stadium looks odd because they were going to always refit it to be Turner Field for the Braves. So the seats don't point to the middle of the track; they point, off center. Like, and if you look at the opening ceremony, they have like a dais off like on the home plate side. So, but people definitely credit Ted Turner there. So, and also he's kind of the last. This is like less of a thing now, but he's like, people are like proud that like to have had Ted Turner, and he was like the most like influential Atlantean. Like now there's so much stuff is digital. I don't know that that's
Right.
really the way people think of things. At least like living, personally, Jimmy Carter was in the greater area, and things like that. So, very sad for the Braves organization back to back. To have these losses in such quick succession there. So, and there was a joke there that it was like one of the Braves' great managers and some guy who played third base for the Yankees. So, all right. More on great managers. We got 128 of them in a giant tournament online.
Yes, yeah, it's interesting. This is from the Showdown2000.fun app/website. We had Derek on a few weeks ago talking about this, and somebody, Seabass here, he's the organizer of this, put together a 128 team tournament, single elimination. You could join. You can have 5 teams per owner, open to anybody that wanted to come in. I joined with 3 teams. That's all I have as far as number of cards that I felt comfortable putting a decent team together to compete. And like I said, it's interesting because the way the roster construction works is kind of different than the way we've done it and the way I'm used to. So it's like it's what 5 starters, 5 bench players, 6 bullpen arms, and then your lineup all for 5,000 points. Yeah, so it's spread pretty thin. Like I said, with a single elimination tournament, it's okay. You have to have 5 starters, but do you count on going 5 out of the 7 rounds like that? How much points do you give your 4th and 5th starter to have? You know, that's when you want to do better because you're facing people that have already won 3 or 4 games. Roster construction was interesting. I just kind of kept my teams how they were and just entered it and we'll see how it goes and go from there.
You didn't try to min-max in some sort of...
No, I didn't want to put too much thought in it. I was like, well, I'm going to spend hours building a team and then lose in the first round, so I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah.
Does it just run 1 through 5 on the starters?
Yes, yeah, it just runs 1 through 5.
I think you would want to put your thumb on the scale for your 1st and 2nd starters,
yes,
right?
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because, they're going to pitch games 1 and... You're going to want to live through games 1 and 2, and then they'll be pitching games 6 and 7.
Yeah, and I put more points into my starting rotation than I usually do, and like out of the 6 bullpen arms I have, I had like 3 of them as like less than 100 points because I was like, well, if I'm up by like 5 runs, I can throw a 0 control out there for an inning hopefully and not completely blow the game and have not that way I can save because they use rest rules between the rounds, and so you can't throw the same reliever 3 games in a row. You have to have a mandatory rest. So that makes it a little more interesting too. But it does use all the 2000 sets, so it is pitcher friendly when it comes to point cost for your bang for your buck, especially when it comes to relievers. Really good relievers for sub 150, sub 200 points.
Yeah, you get a 6 1 to 15 for 150 all day, as many as you want, right?
Yeah.
And then like for 170, you basically get to choose between like an extra out or not giving up a double.
Right. Yeah. Starters are interesting too because the way that works, it's open to any cards that are in the game that he's put together in the app. So there's like all timers and stuff, and I've come across what have I played 5 games so far across the 3 teams, and I've come across 2 of the same Babe Ruth cards. So I'm guessing this is a popular card, but it's basically, if you remember the 2001 Pennant run Ben Sheets, it's like that but 8 innings. So it's a 5 control 8 innings 1 to 14 out. And there's a lot of people using high control, but like you can get on base at a 15 or 16. And I've faced a bunch of those, and it's open season for the kind of lineups I put together. Just get on base and hit them around, So.
Yeah, that's that. And he was saying everyone pretty much goes heavy catcher, right? So
yeah, everybody's had plus 10 or more catcher. I don't have. I think my best catcher I've opened out of any packs I've opened has been a plus 8. So that's what I have right now.
And then the prize pool looks like 2,000 gems. I was looking in the marketplace. It seems like the best card in the marketplace right now is like 250.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trading or whatever in the buying you can do. And like I said, you can, like what I've done to get packs and get the teams I have is I've created 2 teams and I just play them against each other. And you get gems. It's all 100% free. There's no money at all in the game, and so you can just play against yourself and get a bunch of gems for completing games, and you can use that to buy packs and get more stuff that way.
So yeah, I know we not everyone's listened to every episode. Showdown2000.fun. You play Showdown online. It's the 2000 style pitchers and batters. The only currency in the game is playtime. There is no cash. Or anything like that. So if you go in there and you play, you may not have all the cards right away, but you can eventually get there. And Derek was saying, you don't even need to really be a super power user to basically have a full set and definitely everything you would want.
Yeah, it's great for, at least for, it scratches the itch if you like to like the digital opening packs and building teams and that kind of stuff. And like I said, for this, it's been really cool to see. There's a chat in the Invitational here that where people are like, I haven't played Showdown in 20 years and this is my first time back, and like I'm addicted again. And it's great to see that kind of chatter and excitement about the game and something like this getting some buzz at least on the social community for this. And he's already starting to put the Seabass is already starting to put together a 64 team Invitational 1.3 that's open right now.
Yep. So if you have a good showing in this, you're welcome to come on, tell us your strategy, tell us what happened. All right. Okay, so looking forward to the next set that we have, the 2026 set. We're at the quarter-way mark. Most teams have played 39, 40, or 41 games, just about. I think everyone's in that range there. So it's a good time to look ahead to how people are performing, what are they on pace for, and what would a 2026 set look like. I'll use my my building parameters here. And there are just certain counting numbers that are very critical. When you're building batters, really you're working from the two edges of the card down. So 55 home runs is that. You've heard us talk about the McGuire cards. What that is that's the equivalent of a 10, 16 to 20. And you need to have 55 home runs. The bot will be a little bit generous on that, which means right now you need to have 14 to be on pace. So, and there were 4 of those in the last set. That's pretty heavy. That might be just about the most that's ever been in a set. I can't imagine there's one that's had more than that. Which of these 5 do you think are most likely to hold that pace?
Judge for sure. Schwarber's done it. Murakami's interesting. It's just there's no basis for his for what he's doing right now in the States. So I mean I think we're gonna have an overall down year with power compared to what we've had in the past. So I mean I wouldn't be surprised if it's only 2 of these names on here, or two in total by the end of the year.
I mean, the most common number in a set, I believe, it's either 0 or 1. If you were to go back to, do 20, 30 years of sets, like these are not like common numbers. Even with years that people hit a lot of home runs. So
yeah, because even at 45 pace, I mean, think about the number of years that nobody in the league's hit 45 even.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last 2 Triple Crown winners have been in the 40s, right? With Cabrera and Yastrzemski, right? Like, I don't even know if Yastrzemski may have had like 38 or something, right? Like, so it's so the 55 guys, right? I mean, it's good because these guys all have, the equivalent of 14 banked already. So but you have a long way to go, right? You still got 30 something home runs to hit.
Right. I mean, just even the one you have highlighted there, Buxton's gonna get hurt. He's not gonna get there. So yeah.
Yeah, Buxton's big thing is always being good prorated, and he had that slow start, which is going to hurt that. I mean, Olsen has a chance, like, is he going to make a run at, like, the Albert Bell, like, 50-50?
Yeah.
Yep. And then the next tier down is the 10, the 10, 17 to 20, the 9, I know a lot of people love the 9, 16 to 20s, so this is 45. There were, I think, 5 or 6 guys who dropped off. Suarez off this list, and I don't know if one of the 6s had come in also at this tier from the 2025 set. But normally it ends up being somewhat of a pyramid, where you're getting a good bit here. Any of these names stand out that would be interesting for you to end up at that 45 tier?
Caminero is really interesting, an exciting young player. Seeing what he can do on a showdown card would be really cool. See what happens. He's pretty dynamic overall. It could be a really powerful card if he puts up some good numbers there. We were talking before we jumped on here about Yordan Alvarez and kind of what's going to happen with him in the lineup and what the Astros are doing. Chance for that lineup to be completely different in a month than what it is now, and him not even getting the opportunity to hit home runs, just getting walked.
Yeah, that lineup could be completely different, and he could not be on it.
Right. Well, that too. Yeah.
It could be stripped down and he's just got no one around him, or he could be part of the stripping down there. Ben Rice is coming back down to earth. Mickey Moniak showing his potential. Langoliers is the one that's interesting because he's been like early targeted to be the catcher that gets like jumped up to that catcher speed A to replace Real Muto.
Yeah, and if he's at 40 plus home runs with that, that's we're talking Pudge level card here. Yeah.
Oh, it would be insane. I mean, well. And we go to the next slide. If that held true, like you almost couldn't make him a speed A because it just makes him like a player that he's not.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, like you don't really want to help the guys out here too much. I think Soto, like we for the Soto card that's over there, like we basically took all of his doubles to give him the one extra homer he needed to get put into the 45. He had I think he had 43 in a triple or something last year. So to get that little bump, like you're paying a pretty heavy cost, and so you don't just want to like give free speed, especially at catcher, right? Because all of a sudden he's like Johnny Bench. That's true. Yeah, so all the guys in that tier, like, they're interesting. I don't know that I have any faith that any of those guys are jumping up.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
Alvarez the one, right?
yeah. That's about it.
I mean, Trout, obviously, like, don't rule Trout out, but this could also be like Trout's last great card.
Yep. Yeah, and like somebody like Jordan Walker's like, this is he really going to live up to his what people thought his potential was years ago? And he's still young, so we'll see.
Well, I mean, he was red hot early, and he's kind of nickel and dimed his way to get here, right? Just one here, one there. But he was on those like early, those early season watches we had. All right, the 9 tier. This is 18 to 20. So this is nothing special, right? Like you're gonna have options in the set, but you're trying to find who would be interesting at this tier. Anyone on this list strike you as interesting?
Depending on what O'Neal Cruz's defensive position is, potentially, if you have somebody like a center fielder that has pop option, would be really interesting with his speed as well. Assuming he'd be high speed as well, it could be a really interesting card.
Yeah, he may end up get like overpointed because he may like qualify for multiple positions.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. If they throw him in somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's like how that all works. I mean, anybody, Ellie De La Cruz, anybody who could be plus 20 speed and have this type of power is going to be an interesting card.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's interesting things that happen there.
Yep.
I mean, Corbin Carroll, that's just, he's just on pace to have one of his own, like his type of card there.
Yeah, he's going to be, yeah. He's got a good card, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, he always does, right? It's always the, like, Luis Polino was always the card I liked. It was like, anything could happen here. And then Drake Baldwin at catcher, right? Having Hunter Goodman, Drake Baldwin, having a few catchers there. They're spread out around a lot of positions, which is good. Jose Ramirez, we have his 25 card over there. He's not on this list, but it's like, he's going to produce a productive card.
Yeah, even if he's doing okay so far this year, and he's gonna be what he is. That's what he is every year.
Yeah, he may not have the super high end power there. And then the next tier down to get that like 19 to 20. There's 55. I mean, so there's 360 hitters that'll get made. There's 55 people who qualify at that tier, and there are plenty of people who will qualify just being on prorated with like 200 at bats. They'll have 7-8 home runs with 200 at bats, and they'll get like prorated up or something weird. So plenty of people end up there. Nothing really to write home about, but that's just to give you an idea how that pyramid starts to take shape. The other big thing is the on base, and the way the set originally takes structure is kind of who are the 211s to a lesser extent. They're kind of the icing on the cake, but the very like foundational cake element is who are the 10s and what does that look like? For me, that's like the top 25 guys and on base who qualify for the batting title. And these are those folks. So the top 2 right now we have 3 people because Alvarez and Terang are tied at 422. What are your odds that Taylor Ward is the 11 this year?
I ain't taking that bet. No, I would take the bet that he's not even on this top 25 by the end of the year.
I believe that he has 40 walks in 40 games, so a lot of respect out there for Taylor Ward. I don't know if he's just like mastered the ABS or what.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll gladly eat crow if he's on this top 25 list at the end of the year, but I don't know.
So using those criteria, probably the worst 11s. The 2 guys who are like have had the worst careers to have gotten an 11 since 2000 are either Delgado or Victor Martinez.
Okay.
Other than that, there's a lot of chalk. It's like no matter how like lowly you view like Joey Votto, he qualified for an 11 like 4. He was the top 2 in on base like 4 times.
Yep.
Which is tough to do. So those guys.
Giambi was 11 at one point, wasn't he? On one of the cards.
He was one of the first. Him and Delgado were one of the first ones. Giambi was a couple of times. I think he was 2 or 3 times. So Pujols is a couple. There's some guy McCutcheon maybe would be like just because his peak was so short, maybe been. But basically, if you qualify for an 11, it's almost like if you're winning MVP in the NBA, you just make the Hall of Fame. Like if you're an 11 in Showdown, like you're close to the Showdown Hall of Fame right then and there. Mauer had a bunch, and as a catcher, like that would put him into the Showdown Hall of Fame. Okay, so anyone above 400, right? Like if you have 400, you're a 10, right? I've never made a set where a 400 is not. I mean, maybe there's like some weird like year in the 40s where everybody had a ton of on base, but so all the guys in the 400s, like, you're kind of sitting pretty. You can even like cool off a little bit. Kirk's walking a ton. Obviously, a lot of those names are guys you're expecting to produce. I think Rice is probably from. I mean, Xavier Edwards would be tough for him to have a 400 on base, right?
Yeah.
You know, again, Rice has been coming back down to earth. Herrera's probably overproducing at 407. Yeah, and then the other guys, like these guys, you know, you're under 400, could end up down at a 9. By the way, all these people have to stay healthy because you got to qualify for the batting title. Langoliers, again, if he's a 10 and he's got major pop and he gets the speed upgrade, you're talking like a 600-point card. I would like him to steal a couple bases to justify moving him up to a speed A. So that if someone ever like looked at his baseball references, like, why is this guy? I don't think people are going and looking at like catcher sprint speed.
Yeah. How far are you willing to kind of dig for a reason to do it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. Well, and hopefully someone else emerges, right? So yeah, it's a nice to have. It's not something. There's no like law that says you have to have a speed A. It's just kind of nice for the players who play that strategy to have it available.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, like if Langoliers is a problem, you got to start kind of eyeing someone else. Like, is there someone who's very young? Like Jake Baldwin's young. I don't know if he necessarily is confusable for a speed A. We've done the same thing at first base, and it's been Harper for.
Right, and he's getting old now, so.
Yeah, you can only do that trick so many times, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
Any other names here on the 10s? It's like, hey, I really hope that this guy hangs on to it.
Well, as a Rangers fan, what Josh Young is doing this year so far is great. Yeah, if he can hold on to that 300, 380, that'd be great.
Yeah, Contreras is. Watching the Red Sox, I would not think any of them are a 10, but Contreras is there, and almost probably a quarter of it is being hit by pitches.
Yeah, that's been a story this year too.
Yeah, he's been. Well, he also leans over the plate, so
Yep.
he's not like an innocent. I don't think he's an innocent victim in this hit by pitch story.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of those guys are. Some of these guys would be new. Okay, when we making a set, also a lot of the pitchers, like, you end up most of the pitchers are just kind of the background of the set. Like, you're gonna have numbers and combinations. The top 10 is where you get the personality of these specialty charts. So these top 10 are always made customs. These are your 6-1 to 16s, or your 6 that don't give up a double, 5-1 to 17, or 1 to 16 no double 5s. You know, you guys know the combinations, 3-1 to 18, all those different iterations. They're going to come from this top 10 in ERA. The only repeat right now would be Christopher Sanchez there. Also, the Phillies have Schwarber killing it, Harper killing it, and Sanchez here in the top 10 ERA, and they are. Just a quick thought there for you. Who here are you the most bullish on to be here, 3 quarters from now?
2 of them mainly, Soriano and Sanchez, really.
Who did I double up? So I doubled up Nick Martinez. I think he has ERA moved a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who's the number 2? There's somebody in there who's getting shortchanged here. If you're able to Google it real quick.
Yeah, I've actually got the.
No, never mind. It's Davis Martin.
Davis Martin is 1.62.
Okay, I put the card in there. I just didn't update the name. So sorry, Davis Martin fans. Yeah, I mean, you got guys who are coming from tough years. Nick Martinez, Davis Martin, Clay Holmes, Bryce Elder, Burns, and Griffin didn't even have cards last year.
Right.
In my 600 card set. So it's a quarter of a season. You got to pitch a lot. But these guys are there. Soriano is obviously on like house on fire. Sanchez, I think, is the most likely. Well, Schlittler's probably the most likely to hold on, and Sanchez would be number 2 for me.
Yeah, Schlittler's good. Sanchez good. I mean, Soriano's really underrated. I think he's starting his coming out years this year, so we'll see. I think those 3 have a really, really good shot to be on this list at the end of the year.
Yep. Also, if you know a young person who has great arm stuff, do whatever you can to get them in the Rays orbit. With Nick Martinez, who was doing nothing. It seems like every year, whether it was who'd they pick up from the Phillies a couple years ago? Eflin?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like Glasnow, I think, is their best example of this, where they, got someone on the cheap and just turned him into a monster and then flipped him for more. kept trading for more quarters. So, any other thoughts here on the top 10 in ERA? Anyone you would like to see jump up into this class that's not a Ranger?
That's not a Ranger.
I don't think Evaldi can get there. It's also not like super interesting for Evaldi to get there, right?
Yeah. I mean, DeGrom would be nice, but no, like I mean, we'll see. I mean, I really think we'll see Skeens there. I think we'll see start some of these more household names jump up there here as the season progresses. So.
Yeah, I mean, Skubal's obviously kind of knocked himself out from this.
Yeah.
Those guys get tough. If Skubal comes back and is just like unreal, like if somebody has a crazy ERA but doesn't qualify for like the ERA title, it's like, well, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
There was somebody for the Braves a couple of years, like a while ago, like in 2011, and then like Jake Arrieta had a similar year. We had an ERA of like 1.8 or something, but he only pitched like 16 games.
Right. Yeah. What was it? Was it last year when Mizorowski made the All-Star team after like four starts or something like that? Small sample size stuff.
Yeah, the small sample size is weird. So a pitcher, I mean, sometimes you can like shed enough inning pitched off to make it like where they have like a potent chart, but they're not going to pitch super deep. Like the Ohtani card, like the double-faced Ohtani, that's a 3-4 inning pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, a couple other interesting. This is kind of the grab bag of pitching stats here. The sub 1 ERA relievers. That's kind of where you get like the really good, high end cards, the Wagner equivalent type cards. Aroldis Chapman was that last year. You don't want a ton of those floating around in your set because it's just miserable. But if you have someone who has like a lights out year, these guys are on the short list there. It's also just super tough to recover as a reliever. All right, anybody? Well, let's go with the 50 innings pitched. You get 200 innings pitched, you get a 7 on your card for innings pitched, which there were 3 guys last year. Nobody's going to get it off of innings pitched per game. Almost the only way anyone's going to get it right now, unless they get hurt midway through the season when they're in the middle of a heater or something. The only way anyone's going to get is you get 200 innings pitched, which means you got to pitch 33, 34 games. Anybody here feel bullish on doing that?
Again, talking about Sanchez. Sanchez has a really good shot to do that. What Gavin Williams has done to start the season has been impressive. Other than that, no.
I told my nephew that Michael Wacha was shot, and I looked really brilliant with that as he's like, don't you like look this stuff up in your free time? Yeah, I mean the Freed, either of the Yankees guys, anybody who faces the Red Sox a lot, right? They have if you face the Red Sox like 6 times this year, you could go to the Hall of Fame.
It's not that bad, is it?
There've been a lot of people who've gotten right against us. Like, oh, I'm scuffling. Good, we're going to
Boston. Let's recover now, and yeah,
time to figure everything out. Win loss control is loosely tied to win loss in my set. So the guys who get the ton of wins, it's where you're starting to get your 6 control starters and your relievers here. The bold guys are the relievers. So Aaron Ashby was 7 wins out of the bullpen. I don't know that he's going to win 28 games.
Yeah.
Really
Probably not.
Also having 7 wins with a 2 year. It's not like he's like had not given up a run at all. Who here do you? I know 20 games is like a dead number. Anybody you think has a chance to do it?
I mean, just because the teams are on Schlittler and Robleski, if he pitches enough, I mean, he's young, so I'm not sure what they're doing as far as inning limits on him or anything this year, but yeah.
No innings limit today.
Yeah. So that's about it, probably.
8-2, and he gave up 7 runs. So I didn't know. But he did it in under 100 pitches, so I don't know if he just throws it over the middle and hopes for the best.
Yeah. I mean, also with a young guy like that, it's just not going to happen. So. Yeah,
they're gonna taper him off there. I mean, again, prorated. If you end up with a big spread between your wins and losses, that can be good enough. The K's obviously a ton of relievers in here. Mizorowski and Cease are doing the best for the starters. I think we're all just watching Mason Miller and seeing if he gets the Chapman card.
Yeah, it's as far as relievers go, it's what can Miller do this year to be the best reliever card?
Yeah, it's him and everybody else. So we do have one card, so we're kind of wrapping up here. We have our first person who likely our first card for the 2026 set. Last week, I think we jinxed it. We had hypothesized like what would happen if someone's season ended today. Would they get a card? And then we got that use case. Sadly, Carlos Correa is been named out for the season. Older he was getting a chance to play there because Pena was banged up and he's on the IL. But he gets knocked out here. He's got he's got a 369 on base percentage, which is pretty good, but he doesn't have the plate appearances to get up to a 9. I would think you need 300. That's my line for a 9. So he's got the 8 with 1 out, which people love 1 out, by the way.
Yeah.
So we'll do this as people become available. This confidence down here this is what I think the confidence that I'll put this exact card that's above here in the set. And you'll see that in this one on the right, this is an edit that I would make. So I would go in and actually photoshopped to change these up. So if you go into the Showdown bot, if you just push Carlos Correa, I think this is like chart 4 or 5. You can get this one here on the left. I think what we've noticed looking at the sets is if you do a full set, you really kind of want to pull back on the middle infield defense a little bit across the set. Otherwise, people are getting like 10, 12. They're getting plus 12 or plus 10 infield defense without really even like working for it. Is that what you've been seeing?
Yeah, it's plus 10 without even trying. I think we have one person in the league right now that I guess they're trying for it. They have a plus 16.
Which means it is an automatic double play versus my entire team.
Yes, it is. It is an automatic double play versus your team. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's just ridiculous. So yeah, we've talked a little bit offline about kind of. Yeah, I like the comment you made where it was just like if you can walk to shortstop, you're a plus 3 with the bot, and it's just it doesn't matter how bad you are.
Which is I think I get it because if you just go make if I just go type like Rafael Furcal is my favorite player, do I really want to see him come back as like shortstop plus 1?
No,
if it's somebody who's not like notoriously bad.
Mm-hmm, right.
So if you're making sets, it is something to consider, like the whole set and how it plays. That's like, hey, do we pull stuff down? And so the thought with Correa is like he's getting up there. He's been known to have the lower body injuries. He's not moving as well. He's definitely not moving as well right now. But he wasn't moving as well the last couple of years in Minnesota and now here with Houston. So if we take 6 down to 2, if we take 3 down to 1 at third base. I think that looks like Carlos Correa. I think if you showed that to someone and didn't tell them they made edits, they would go like, yeah, that passes the smell test, right? And then you shave you get to save a couple points because you're taking something away. Play wise, on the 2026 Astros are gonna love like if you're just playing like whole teams against each other, like he's starting.
Yeah.
So things that could keep him off is if there are just more than 12 players ahead of him who have like 200 plus at bats, which could happen, right? So they have Nick Allen, who's going to be playing a bunch in his spot while Pena's getting ready, and Pena's not going to play every day when he gets back. So you could end up with like 12 guys who have a bunch. What I think makes it more likely that he shows up is they're going to start selling pieces off, and he's not going to be one of those pieces. Yordan Alvarez is going to have 200 at bat or plate appearances here soon, and they're just going to disappear. They're not going to be on that team anymore because they're going to go to the highest bidder. So I think that's how Correa gets on the team. So normally you wouldn't want someone with 150 there, and this is good, and this will like at least make the Astros like playable even if they have a miserable year. They at least have one competent player already, which is more than anyone else has right now.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So now break it down. You get to build a team in all the different formats we do. Let's look at the card on the right because I think that's one's more likely. I think there might be some tinkering, but let's go with the card on the right for now.
I think for a lot of people, the way they construct their lineups, this would be an appealing bottom of the order card. Like you said, people love that. Let me get the advantage, and I need to get on base with the advantage. The worst feeling in Showdown is getting the advantage and hitting a double play or striking out. So that 2 walk is very appealing. If you want a flat lineup, having the on base of 8, you're targeting that for 7 of your 9 spots in the lineup probably, and this fits that bill. 300 points isn't breaking the bank. You've got flexibility at shortstop and third base. Having the third base of a +1 is not bad. There's a lot of third basemen that are zeros. Having some flexibility there is nice. So I think this could fit a few different lineup constructions. You can probably possibly even throw him at number 9 spot in a power lineup, even with the 19 to 20 home run.
Yeah, it's and I would think about like 6 or 7 in a speed lineup.
Yeah.
If you put him, you get people on ahead of him, and now like that 8 single.
Mm-hmm.
You can get some cheap runs out of this. Like there are ways to make this a productive card.
Yeah, and that's a good point. With speed lineups, it isn't always just about let me get all speed A guys. It's how do I make use of the speed A guys, and that's getting guys that can hit singles with a low number to drive them around, take advantage of the extra bases, and that's what Correa in this iteration could do.
Yeah, so if you ended up with your Jose Ramirez and a Terang at second, right, and then it's like okay. Maybe another speed A, like you had Wyatt Langford, right? A 9 speed A behind those guys. It's like, I got to say, you can't just spend 1 million points.
Right.
So it's like, if you put Correa there at 6, does he just get a bunch of RBIs? Is he the last guy before your punt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, like whatever, like I'm not going to get any runs out of my punt anyway. So like Correa's job is he's not going to score a ton of runs. He's going to drive in a disproportionately high amount of runs.
Yep. Yeah, and that 16 double is not bad for a 300-point player either.
No, this is a good card. It's an interesting card. It fills some interesting spots. The 9 1-out guys were pretty sought after. I think the 8 1-out guys are less sought after.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think, a lot of people are just drawn to let me get as many 10s and 9s in my lineup as possible within the budget I have, is kind of, I think, a lot of people's favorite strategy, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as people's season ends for the various reasons that they can, we'll start putting this together and start, like, getting an idea of, like, what can we start to see about the set. The whole point of this episode was looking ahead to a 2026 set and starting to see how things are going, even though we're not even halfway there yet. What are your initial thoughts, high level, as we kind of had just discussed all that? What do you think 2026 is going to look like?
Like I said, I think it's going to be a lot less high-end power. It seemed like power plenty in 2025 is what's happened a lot, so we'll see. That probably is going to tail back a little bit. Like I said, we've talked about some tweaks here with lower fielding and higher speed. It might be a higher speed. One thing we haven't talked about at all that's interesting is the return of the bunt, and what that might mean to increase people's stats that way. So it's interesting to see if that continues through the rest of the year too.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I am wondering if this is this going to go where we looked at some of those lists, and it's like there's some new faces and there's the old guard, and like is one of those gonna slip?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is this going to be the swan song for, this is the last great Judge year, the last great Trout year, or is this the year that like Langoliers went nuts and McGonigal as a rookie, he started his career like crazy. So I think that's what's the interesting theme for me is what is the set going to want to be in that regard.
Right, and are you going to have like looking at that top 25 with the OBP, and how much that's going to change? Because I mean, if that stays close to what it is, you're talking that's a big shuffle for what it was versus 2025.
Well, it's tough to make an exciting Judge card at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's done. Like what is he going to do that he hasn't done? Ohtani wasn't on any of those lists, by the way, and he's probably not going to because he's not going to get the counting stats because he's pitching.
Right, and they're not playing, or at least right now they're not. He's not batting when he's pitching. So
yeah, I mean he'll be exciting if he becomes a flip card, if he's a 2-way flip card, right? That because he'd be the only guy to do that. But like Schwarber, he was a 10, 16 to 20. Like if he does it again, like it's cool and it's good for the set, but it's like
it's nothing new. It's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Raleigh's never going to do what he did again, right? Like that was like you're going to have a best year, and that's a great best year.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said before, you don't want to like take 2025 and then carbon copy that over to 2026 and just have new names with the same cards. for you, I guess, part of it with set creation is like, how do I make this unique, distinct, and different from what I've done before?
Yeah, and then while still being true, and it's nice. It's nice to have some familiarity, right? It is nice. So we used to joke. There was like 3 years in a row where Matt Holliday was 10, 19 to 20 homer, 16 to 18 double, like speed B, left field, right field, right? And it's like, well, that's a good card. Every set wants that, and it's like, okay, it's good that there's home base, a couple of those, but like you want that to be exciting. Like you want the Ronald Acuna 40-70.
Right.
Year.
Yeah.
So it's who's that gonna be? Because I think there's enough of the old guard. And again, some guys will have their swan song. I think it'll be interesting to see who can maintain it and do that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to dig into the numbers a little more and be like, okay, especially on the offensive side, like who's going to be that offensive standout card that we're looking at the top 5 picks of a draft in any league, and you're like, okay, this is who I'm targeting in the top 5. And I don't know if you necessarily have that right now.
No, I don't. Well, and it's tough to visualize it. So I don't like making prorated cards because all of a sudden they become like canon. Like I don't like making partial seasons, because people start like putting those in the canon of like, well, this is a card now, right? Like I have the June 15th through June 18th set.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's like, because the card starts floating out there. So it's like, okay, it's like you're talking ranges. Even this Correa stuff is like kind of blurring the line. Obviously he's got to wait to see where the on base like tiers end up leveling to even before anything gets decided. But yeah, it's interesting. Exciting. It's been an exciting 4th of the season. I'm glad that there's been stuff to talk about. I'm excited to see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, I guess the next is push to All-Star break and see a lot changes between now and then. So it's gonna be exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, there'll be the halfway. Yeah, there's the halfway mark, and then the real big thing is like the trade deadline, because now like you kind of know where people are going to end up.
Let me ask you. We haven't talked about this before, but you've talked about in the past kind of doing pennant run kind of additions to sets. Is that something you might seriously consider in future sets, or just a time thing?
I mean, I would. So basically, anyone who's not in the 600 card, if someone wanted an extra card made for some reason, right? So I'm making my like side project is this 2004 set that I'm like tinkering through, and part of that's because like the Yankees Red Sox series was great, and there were the Cardinals teams and those Astros teams were great. So there are a lot of extra. So for the 2004 Red Sox, there's more than 20 guys who like deserve a card from that set. Like one of the problems is like Dave Roberts didn't like play a ton, but was actually like has the most memorable moment.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like if there was one card from that set, it would be him, but he didn't like.
That'd be a really cool one, like we talked about last week with those alternate image cards. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So the problem with some of that stuff is like the live shot isn't always like a great quality.
Well, especially if you're talking about 2004. That video is probably not as good as the stop and paste. And
yeah, there's like a really good photo. I don't know if it's like been digitally enhanced of like Bill Mazeroski coming around third base. So like I have one of him. Like we'll do an episode when it's slower, right? Of some of these great moments. But yeah, so basically, if you're not in the 600 card, you just get a pennant run card, right? That's and you get made for whatever reason. And then it's just like a question of like how would you introduce that into a set, like into a league? Normally, so one thing that I would have done, and we could do a full episode on this, would be, so if I was making this as a product, I think this is the better way to answer your question. If Wizards of the Coast hired me to make this product, which they would never do, and I wouldn't accept if they offered, like if nominated, I won't run. If elected, I won't serve. I like how this is going. This set, the 600 card set, actually, so the way they released the base set, where it was 3 starters, 3 relievers, 9 batters, that would be the big set of the year. The next, and then there would be, a couple months after that, there would be the other starter, the other reliever, the 3 other batters. Right, that for every team, that would be like a small second set. Because you would need it to be like retail viable. And then a couple months after that, there would be a pennant run, like another pitcher, another batter, and then like a free space for everybody. And every team would get a lefty-righty split card. like one player on their team who got like left-right-handed splits.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at somebody that has like kind of drastic platoon situations.
Yeah, someone who's just interesting, and that would be a player that was already made, right? Like that would be somebody from the base set who would just be their alternate version, right? So you would do like, so Correa here's like card 202 would be like 202A, right? It would be his alternate. So that would be another four people there, and you could make a small set out of that. And then you would do the box set where you literally just get all the cards at the end. You do it at the very end. You could pay, you know, after they sold their booster packs and hit their model, you could just buy the whole set, and you could have it, and you would do that at the end of the season. So that's like the pennant run would be that third one, and it would have like it would have some gimmicky stuff and some like deeper cuts, and I think that's where you would also probably start to introduce, like, you'd probably also have like 2 historic players for each team,
like they used to do with the Cooperstown collection in the later years. Yeah,
so every team, so like this year, right, you would, and because you wouldn't want all of them to be like foils, right? So you'd want like Eric Karros this year and Carl Crawford. I mean, Crawford, like, some years would be a foil, right? Their Cooperstown, because they were doing career, like, as opposed to like individual years. I mean, they did a lot of stuff. I think you would start trying to put teams together through those pennant runs. You know, so you'd put like guys who were on great teams, maybe not the best player, but like if you tracked it through a couple of years, you could start to put these great teams together, and then maybe you could come out with like an individual series, right? You could do the Subway series, just standalone product, which is just the Mets and the Yankees, right, of that year. So I think that's how I would do it, like in a way that's actually like, that would actually be viable in the real world. The problem with the pennant run cards that you have is you have guys who have like less at bats. You got like 80 at bats and hit like 6 home, like with Dalton Rushing. If Dalton Rushing had like a season-ending injury 2 weeks ago, it's like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden he's like Cal Raleigh.
Right. Yeah, and that's just, that creates problems in the set. Balance issues, and
balance it. It's also like, well, that kind of diminishes the guy who like actually hit 60 home runs.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and you know those guys from the original set, right? Like, there were some guys who were like prorated up a little bit, right? Like, I think there's people like the misprints, like that Terry Shumpert was just like
Shumpert. So the only reason that anybody knows anything about Terry Shumpert is because of MLB Showdown.
Yeah, well, it's because he had like 100 at bats, but he had like a 400 on base and hit like 4 home runs or something in a triple, right? Like, so it's like, yeah, that is how the bot makes it, and maybe that set needed it to like just sell the product, right? It's not like he was displacing some other good Terry Shumpert card.
Yeah. Well, then you have that balanced out by the CC Sabathia card, 2001 pennant run too.
Yeah, and those guys I think they were projecting ahead. They had timing issues with like, because it's a big organization that's like sends stuff overseas to print and then like physically ship it back. Like, you're projecting forward. I want to get someone on here to like talk to me about timelines. Because I have a doc that's like way too, like, it's like red stringed. It's like I think I have it triangulated pretty good, but I'd also like to know. Like, I finally got someone to show me an uncut sheet, which was super important.
Okay.
Because then you could figure out like how, like, if cards were more rare than others, like the foils.
Yeah, I know they were inserted they were inserted 1 in every 5 packs, but were they produced evenly across all the foils and then inserted? Yeah.
So it's a 10 by 10 sheet, and it's 55 foils in the first set. So there's not 2 on every sheet, but there's multiple sheets. But it's like if I had all of them, I'm pretty sure that McGuire's not as common as David Cone. Like, I'm confident.
Well, yeah. Well, David Cone and Greg Maddux, they came in the starter sets, so everybody had this. Yeah.
I guess who's a better example there? There's got to be some Dean Palmer.
We had like what Tony Fernandez was a foil card, I think, in the 2000 set. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and every team had one, and some had multiple, and all this different stuff. So yeah, that would be, one day. Like, I have lots of theories on how I would produce it, but the pennant run stuff is interesting, and I think the pennant run is just like, so you have a way to put stuff in there, and and then things are tagged in such a way that's like, if you cared as a league, you could like take out cards in mass. It's like, hey, like we're just doing the base 2025 set. It's 600 cards. There's none of the weird oddball stuff, and it's not the split cards and all that.
Well, I mean, even then, like you're talking about, the weird all-ball stuff isn't super weird and all-ball. It still fits in the stat and still fits the theme, and yeah.
Well, so Correa would be, say he didn't, say for whatever reason they just have a bunch of guys. They don't trade anybody. They get a bunch of guys who have like 220 at bats, and it's like, even though he's a great Astro, he's just too far away on plate appearances. He didn't have the impact on the season. Like, he would be the first pennant run guy.
Right. Yeah.
Like the pennant run would be the guy that like should have a card, right? So the 2004 Red Sox, that guy is Trot Nixon. Like, had been in Boston for forever, came up as a big prospect, like had some impact during the run, but like just gets edged out. So it's like, sure, you do a pennant run, you put Trot Nixon in there, you don't make him, if you put him in like this Carlos Correa, it doesn't make or break a set. It's like, can't believe they put this guy in there.
Yeah, like you said, it doesn't break the set. It kind of fits in there. It's like, sure, yeah, it complements what's already there.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, Correa's played for forever. Like, he's some people's favorite player, I imagine. Like, they should have a card, and like, also when like, at some point he'll get a review for the Hall of Fame. I think that's one of the bigger things is like when you look at someone's like career retrospective, it's like you kind of want a card for every year. That's reasonable.
Right, yeah, and having Correa in there is better than having whatever quad A guys going to be playing in August for them and might get 150 plate appearances. He'll play this year and they'll never see him again.
Yeah, there's a bunch of interesting stuff with the set, and it's like if you drill into it early, you don't rush and make a bad decision later. Okay, I think of this as like those like Japanese like rock and sand gardens.
Uh-huh.
It's like you just kind of like going over things over and over again and making it as perfect as you can.
I think I have me that image of you with like that little tiny rake and just.
I think the real art of it is knowing when to stop, is knowing when you've got it as good as you can.
Right, because then you can over tinker and then you change something and then it ends up throwing something else off and yeah.
Yeah, and you've kind of gotten to see it where it like starts in these big ways, and then like I'll send you messages, you'd be like, "Do you really think this needs to be?" I can only imagine. It's like, is this really that important?
Everybody has their hobbies. It's fine.
Yeah. You're taking 3 guys from a 14 to a 13, and you think that's gonna do anything? Yeah. So awesome. Anything else you got before I let you go here?
No, it's been a good start to the season. Enjoying it so far, and looking forward to see what else is in store.
Yeah, hopefully the Red Sox can go on a heater here.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
I am also not holding my breath. Hopefully your team plays the Red Sox here coming up.
Hey,
if you're listening, and they get right.
Yeah, Red Sox for everybody.
Yeah. So, all right, this has been another week of Showdown. You guys all have a great week.